Remember, please hit like and subscribe for me. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go.
Hi, everyone. Today's Friday, September the 19th, and this is the Moneyball Morning Report for the Benzinga Pro platform. Got an interesting day ahead. All right, so we've got a put wall very far below us, right? It's all the way at 6660. It was at 6600, so they have moved it up. The key event here, in my mind, is how this 1 hour candlestick closed up at the top of this range near 6704. Our opening candlestick formation yesterday, we had 2 hours of very choppy price action. So the reason I'm looking at the hourly today is because we had so much volatility. And that's going to give us a little bit of a framework. So what I want to do is draw Fibonacci on it and see where we are. Okay, so this morning I was reading the Discord. A lot of us have got process drift, right? It's deciding on the system we want to trade and then sticking to it. And this comes from divided attention spans, right? And so we'll talk about that on Monday when we get back together, really focusing on how to develop that framework. Notice we're up over the 50% range of this entire move, but we are inside it. So John Hoagland would call this in value and in range, okay? Or any person that does volume profile analysis. And so you'd look for someone like Deanna Angelo. She's really amazing at that. And of course, Coach Vince, a lot of folks in Top Step work with this kind of analysis. The question is, what are we looking at here? And to me, this looks like indecision. Traders are still sitting in that pocket where they're divided on, is this a bullish day? Is this a bearish day? Could this be range bound? And I'm going to tell you, we are going to see a fair bit of volatility because people are on opposite sides of the fence. The next big candlestick of import, and I'm using the hourly today simply because so much positioning has been happening that, we really need to look just a little wider angled. And I know that makes that tough. But here's what we're staring down. We have higher highs and higher lows. We have a lot of volume coming in and still no real decision, because the close of yesterday and where we are right now, let's go to the 30, that's a lot messier because it's got a lot more pictures in there. Where we are sitting right now is inside of the 30-minute formation that closed the day. So what do we know about this? We will traverse the range from the opening candlestick formation and either go down into the body of another candlestick. Remember, we draw that Fibonacci. It gives us the 50% range. That looks just like 6682. Great buy zone. And now we're back up to the top of the next most prevalent volume candlestick, at which point I would say, I wouldn't mind shorting there, right? With a stop somewhere around 6,704. Only following these volume pockets. Okay? So I'm going to work with ChatGPT and see if it can design me something that says, look at the prior day and pull out the two highest volume 30-minute candlesticks and change their color. And that might be interesting. I'm going to work on that over the weekend. So here we are, dancing around this zone. But have a look. We've got bullish trend and bullish momentum. So if we're trying to take a short here, we are moving against trend and against momentum. But what we are using is the range. So what might we think about that? The way to use that range is to say, wait a second, let's see if it breaks through and then rejects, and then that opens up the short, or it breaks through, pulls back, and holds above the formation. We know the call wall is still sitting at 6,600. Should be a pretty big fight club there. But this is the way you can look at a chart and go, wait a second, am I moving with trend and momentum or against trend and momentum? And a short is against trend and momentum. And so we must wait for a confirmation of that movement. Otherwise, we're going to be caught in a breakout that goes with trend and momentum. All right? The candlestick only tells us what the ranges are. It doesn't tell us exactly what to do. The traders, by looking at trend and momentum, they are the ones that tell us what to do. Okay? So that's what we're staring down right here. And as you can see, it's moving up into the zone higher. And so if we are looking for short, we must wait. If we are looking for long, it says, hey, go to it, but you've got clear resistance above for maybe 3 points. It could be more, but it could be just that, right? Here we are into the open of the Globex candlestick, so we're in the middle of that. So all of these things say, hey, if I take a long on this break, I could easily have a move that takes me into the pre-market high, right? 5-6 points. Focus on where that volume is going. That's going to be the thing that you need to do. All right, we've got key volume events up here, 67.13 to 67.15, and then the 0 DTE call wall at 67.24. Those are the numbers we're looking at above us. Below us, we have support zone at 66.90. That's right around here where we've got a big pocket of total volume sitting in this zone. You can see it. I should change the colors here so you can see them a little bit better, but they kind of annoy me, so I haven't done that. So that's what we stare down, okay? We're looking down this zone of where all of this volume sat, and we can see it on the edge of that volume profile sitting in the space, okay? All right, below us, we've got value area high, 6,686. We've got the Fibonacci, which gives us the 50% range of the opening candlestick formation of yesterday. We've got 6,617, which is now another support test, gave us that. And then we've got 6,671, that is the point of control, with the value area below at 6,650. This is still the volume anomaly, this candlestick here at 230, and of course that's the Powell presser. Remember how long we sat in the range of the Powell presser, the last Powell presser? It was quite a while, right? Quite a while. And so it could be that we fall right back into the Powell presser event, and that keeps us into the next earnings cycle that should start in just a couple of weeks. Stock buyback window is going to close. When that closes, there is a drift of liquidity downward. These are the things that we have to take a look at. I know I got very granular today, but what I am noticing is scope drift. And it's super simple. No matter what indicators you use that tell you, yes, I'm going here, I'm going there, add volume and the range of that volume, just draw a box around it, and it will help you with whatever system you are using to navigate the markets. All right? And be present in terms of staring down what you are looking for and knowing what your process actually is. A lot of us just simply are not firm on that because we're looking for the Holy Grail. And frankly, there isn't one. There isn't one. You got to put the time in, watch the moving averages or whatever you watch, whatever fancy pants thing you've got going on. If you bought something really fancy and you've seen it work, use it, but be focused and realize every trade is not a winner. That's just not how it works. Okay? So, that being said, that's what we got for the ES. Let's take a look at the NQ. A lot of big news floating around in there. Let's first go to the 1 hour chart. So we can see, look at where put support is for the NQ. 0DT put support's pretty high, but this is a little bit of an illumination into what the traders are actually hedging for while still trying to run the price up. Okay, so they're sitting on both sides of the fence. They've got this hedged below and now this hedged above. Okay, so if I divide, and I heard somebody say this, right? So I'm like, let me see. If I divide the call wall and the put wall together for call for the 0DTE, put for the 0DTE, I get a 50% range at around 24,670. I don't know if that's going to work, but I am going to watch it because this 50% notion is pretty important. And a lot of folks like to go, yeah, that's not a real Fibonacci number. Listen, 10 traders out of 11 are going to go, I don't really care if it's a Fibonacci number or not. 50%'s easy. 50 cents, 25 cents, 75 cents. It's all about how the dollar split out. And this just makes sense to me, right? It's how the futures are split out as well. So, let me go back here. Before I do that, let's grind the gears back up here. I don't even see where there's the put wall, 0DTE. So let's do this just for grins. Yeah, the battleground here is at this 66.94, and the option chains are telling us, as well as the volume, are telling us that this is where the Fight Club is. Holding this 66.90 is going to give us much more upside pressure, right? I mean, look at how many lines I've got drawn here, plus it's value area high. Okay, so that's just ancillary. Every time we have a new observation, we have to say to ourselves, well, how does knowing that make me trade better, right? A lot of times we get wrapped up in these extremely esoteric things and we're like, whatever, right? Because they're not going to help us trade better. So let's take a look what's going on with the NQ. Here is the opening hourly candlestick. That's the high right there, right? So probably going to have, a little bit of noise there. This is the last 30 minutes, that's the last hour of the trading day. And then this is the first hour of the trading day. And you can see how long we sat there overnight. I mean, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 hours. 9 hours. So that line, obviously, by nature of time, it tells us that's important. So I'm going to draw something right there. Let's go to the 30-minute. That number is 24,713. Here we are on the 30-minute formation. High candlestick. Same thing, right? That's where the high is. Let's draw Fibonacci. We're going to look for, there's the 1.5 extension, that's 24,770, and there's the call wall at 24,800. What is trend? Up. How do we, even if our line is crooked, all you have to do is look at the bottom of your candlesticks. If they're making higher lows, trend is up. That's the only thing you need. Trend is up. And then you can look at momentum, and momentum is up. That's bullish. So don't think about shorting. until you've got a failed point, right? If you get in front of the move, you know you are moving with probabilities not in your favor. Focus. Focus. And make sure you're asking your questions correctly according to your process, right? Everybody's got their own process. Just remember to stop and ask the questions before you pull the trigger. Now, if we're learning to do this real time, you're going to set up a trade, execute, and then go, crud, I didn't ask that question. Get out. Take the 2-tick, 1-tick, 3-tick loss, whatever it is. Get out. Don't be stubborn, because what you're working on is focus and process. If an MLB pitcher did not have his brain completely engaged, he's going to have a rough time replicating trades. We're the same way. We have to remember focus. It's very, very important. All right. Yeah, okay. Now I'm going to go to gold. Whoa. Holy smokes. Let's get rid of all of this. Bye-bye. All right, let's go to the hourly chart first. Now, have a peek at what's going on with this. Remember, as I've told you many times, when liquidity begins to leave the market, financialized instruments, like the gold futures market, will drift to the south. So what I am seeing is a little bit of drift. Now, is the drift significant? No, we're sitting really sideways. Look at the size of the pocket of volume that's sitting here, right? We're almost right on top of the VWAP. That's at 3,677. The point of control is just above at 3,685. The largest candlestick formation of the day gives us a top, that's yesterday, a top near the call wall. And look at how close the 0 DTE puts are to the 0 DTE calls. That's a very tight range. If we happen to draw a line between those two, we see a resistance zone that's being obeyed right now, and that number is 3,692. Okay? Floor 3,660, right? And value area low 3,659. What is this chart doing? What is trend? Well, that's not really clear, right? It's caught between two moving averages. This one below, which is our 200 on the 1 hour, and the one above, which is our 63, okay? If we go to the 30-minute chart, we're going to see the same kind of noise, right? I'm going to delete this. Look at how low that high volume low. That's insane. So if we stare this down, at which point I am going to remove this. Let's remove all the annotations. All right, if I'm staring this down and I go, okay, what's trend? And where's all the volume? All the volume came at the 9:30 candlestick. It's pretty interesting. Look what happened. It broke to the north. Which candle did it bump into with volume? It got inside of this candle over here, which had higher volume for the prior day. So as you're staring it down, you go, okay, here is my 9:30 candle. I broke above it, but I can't quite stay above it. And I move into these areas that are really not specific in terms of saying, oh, well, that's the bottom of that candle, that's the top of that candle. We're not seeing anything like that, right? We can look at this candle, and we can see that the closing candle for gold, which is, no, that's not the closing candle either. That's very interesting. A lot of trading post the close of gold. But this next largest candlestick formation on the 30-minute, that's where resistance sits right now. So 3,692, I'm going to put a line right there because it coincides with that 50% range, and I'm going to remove this Fibonacci. Too noisy. Okay, so we've got this. Are we making higher lows? Yes. Okay, so the dips are buys, but it is rotating. And now we have lower highs, but higher lows. What does this tell me? I don't have clear direction. So if I'm looking for something, I want an alert down here near the base of this candlestick formation, right? If I want to put it at the 50%, I can do that. I'm just going to do a line, not draw Fibonacci. I'm going to let my eyeballs do the work, right? But this would be the area down here I want to trade. See, clearly, I can look at this and go, oh, I am definitely buying the dips, but my momentum has just turned negative, and I'm sitting inside range, inside value. So what am I going to do? I'm going to wait to the base of the range or the spike of the range, and then I'm going to decide what to do. So let's put an alert here. Right? And then we can also put an alert down here. And these are going to be those edges that we watch. If it breaks down, we know it's going to head into the volume pockets. And then we'll see what goes from there, right? But right in the middle here, I don't really have, I have downward trend if I stare this down, but I've got upward trend from underneath. So that's mixed. I'm not going to touch it. Okay? All right. Low edges, 3,659 all the way down to 3,626. High edges, 3,719 to 3,737. That's where the value areas are sitting. That's huge. But we are outside of that big value area. And so my suspicion is that we head lower, but I have a cross current. So I have no idea what to do, except maybe a coin toss event if I'm sitting in that space. Finally, let's look at SPY. 66, 61, 76. We know this number, right? We had a breakthrough, just tested it, came out. Look at the price action. A lot of wicks. Why? Shorts are trapped. They have to get out in a hurry, right? Shorts are trapped. They got to get out in a hurry. That's what these are telling us. Shorts are trapped. Got to get out in a hurry. All right. So what should we do? Fill the gap, potentially, $663.73. The closing candlestick event puts us right in that same range, $661.76 to $663.73. All right? My thought, listen, trend is up. It's also showing downside pressure, but this was a fade into a moving average. It should bounce. If it doesn't, we've got short action into 658. If it does fade and take us lower, that's 657. But we are going to see wicks like this today across price action events. It's just going to be a thing, okay? That's just what happens on quad witching. It's very messy. Very, very messy. All right? So, dips or buys, but they could be steep because these high volume candlesticks right here are still pretty important. Notice the closing candlestick from yesterday. We're sitting underneath it and feeling a little bit like we're going to reject the zone, but we'll see, right? If it holds, the top of the box is going to be that resistance zone, 663. All right? Messy patches, folks. But Take care, trade well, focus one candle at a time, and then put it all together in your tapestry. Okay? I'll see you on the streams. Take care, everybody.